everyone. We're here this morning because the MTA has the highest construction costs compared to any other city on the planet. The MTA regularly spends 3 to 6 to 10 times more money for a capital project compared to anywhere else. And that is what illustrates the disparity and why we're here today. The one that hits me the most is where in Paris, they were able to build its metro line around the catacombs for $370 million per mile, compared to the MTA, which spent $2.7 billion per mile on the 2nd Avenue subway, and there were no artifacts that we had to work around. New York City cannot afford to keep spending more and getting less as service delays and disruptions have been going from bad to worse. This fact has become unavoidable. In August, Councilmember Rodriguez and I wrote a letter to Chair Lota asking for the MTA to form an independent commission to study these costs and develop a plan for addressing them. Here it is, it's October, and we're still waiting for a response. Now, the MTA delay is not so unusual. But the fact is, we can't wait any longer for cost reform at the MTA. We can't wait because if we don't address these costs now, then we cannot expect to address the transit desert in Queens. Without cost reform, we'll never make the system fully accessible or expand the system to reach out. And without cost reform, we'll never be able to make New York a 21st century transit hub. I'm delighted to be joined today by so many great leaders from across the city, and I'm going to turn it over now to our terrific transportation chair here in the council, Ydanis Rodriguez.
So thank you, Helen, for being a great partner. And many of my colleagues, many of you joined me when we toured for 24 hours, through the train system. And together we, at that time, the chairman of that committee, Jeff Dinowitz, we were able to see the condition of the MTA. Conditions that we have experienced for many years, but it make a difference. We really spend like the whole 12 hours and then doing another 12 hours. And we are feeling the consequences of little investments and budget cuts that have left the MTA in a state of disrepair, hard to come back from. We have to understand that the MTA was built by a group of men and women that they have a vision. By the time when it was created, we didn't have the challenges that we have today. Its obsolete signal system and all infrastructure result in an inefficient system with delayed and even derailments is costing New Yorkers time and money. In August, when I chair an MTA oversight hearing, I presented a scenario in which a combination of plans to fund a dedicated black box revenue stream for the MTA will raise $27 billion. That's if we bring all the ideas together. The millionaire tax, the new initiative to put the toll in the Midtown bridges, if we work with the Dinowitz initiative and the Scott Stringer initiative. And I'm not saying that everyone has to agree with the four, but at least the discussion with those four initiatives will allow to talk about the possibility to raise $27 billion in the next 10 years. This money will fund projects imperative to catching up to other similarly complex public transit systems like that of not only this city have a more modern underground transit system, they also make upgrades, repairs, new infrastructure less expensive than here in New York City. With this new Independence Commission, my colleague, Councilmember Helen Rosenthal, and I are trying to answer the question, why does it cost New York City taxpayers so much more money to fund underground capital projects compared to the other major cities that I already mentioned? As of now, the MTA estimates they will complete the signal system upgrade by 2045. I'm 52 right now, therefore I will be 80 years old if we follow that schedule. I think that it should be in a short period of time. Spending our MTA capital funds more wisely and effectively, we can shorten the timeline so that I can hopefully also enjoy these changes. More cost-effective construction can also expand current efforts to make the MTA more equitable and accessible to all. In a city and a state where you have been able to tackle so many other infrastructure feats successfully, it is time that we sit down all in the same table to collaborate and find a meaningful, long-lasting and sustainable solution to the state of the despair of the MTA to improve services for us now and for the generation to come. And if the governor is able to build a new Mario Cuomo Bridge, to renovate LaGuardia Airport, if the mayor also working together, we're able to start a UPK and Computer for All, it is possible that if we work together, the city and the state will be able to bring the revenue and get the MTA to control the cost and be more transparency with New Yorkers on how they use those money so that everyone should be able to keep track on the investment. Hoy es un día donde nosotros estamos trabajando para traerle a la MTA una idea, una sugerencia, que se cree una comisión independiente que pueda analizar cómo la MTA gasta el dinero. Esta agencia tiene un valor de $1 trillón y tiene un presupuesto de $30,000 millones. Tenemos que seguirle trayendo el dinero que ellos necesitan, pero también la agencia tiene que traer más transparencia y controlar más cómo se usa el dinero que nosotros le ponemos a ellos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to thank also Councilmember Menchaca from Brooklyn for joining us today.